Hello, Des Moines, Iowa, and surrounding suburbs. Today we have another episode of the Language of Real Estate here in the Des Moines Metro. My name is Junior Ibarra with Team IRG at Keller Williams here in the Des Moines Metro area, and we also have
Ryan Coy with Team IRG.
And Anthony Simon, an agent with Team IRG.
That's right. And so we're gonna be going over the numbers, the language of real estate, call it the lore, right? The lore report. And our aim is to do this once a month to just what is happening in the Des Moines metro area. So this is the core of Des Moines and surrounding suburbs, right? So Anthony, it's within a certain radius, correct? And what's that radius?
It's 15 miles from kind of a center point of the metro. But yeah, it'll include stuff out to like Dallas Center, just barely up to Granger, down through Pleasant Hill. Just again, what people think about mostly as the metro for Des Moines.
That's right. That's right. So what's our first slide and what information are we going over today?
All right, so jumping right in, median sale price. So top light blue line is 2022. As you can see, year over year, we've had median sale price increases throughout Des Moines. We have seen it fall off a little bit this fall, October into November. We did drop down to 277 was the median sale price for Des Moines here this last month. And again, it tends to trend down a little bit in the fall. It tends to start picking back up in December, January timeframe. And sneak peek for December, I was looking at stuff today. It is already back up close to 290 so far. But so we're already seeing it pick back up a little bit after last month.
So, Anthony, what do you think? What's your prediction for year over year increase in median sale price for the Metro?
So I think we're going to be about just shy of 9% if things continue holding steady for the last few days and honestly kind of a week or two before all the December numbers get put in the system. We're looking at about a 9% increase for 2022 over 2021, which already had an 11% increase. So still a massive jump this last year, even with stuff starting to pull back a little bit the last few months. We're still up that almost 9%.
Yeah, and what's important about that is, as you can see, the trend follows just the cyclical trend of the month over month, right? Yet, what's good is it's good for our market that the huge gaps in between those years isn't as huge, right? Because like if you look at 2020, the gray line, the gap between the gray line and the yellow line is huge, right? And the yellow line between the blue line and those peak months, like essentially March through about July, you see how large that gap is. That's when, pricing was 14 to 20% increase, right? Year over year. So what's good about going back to normal interest rates is that the gap is getting more normal. So you see the gap now between October, like the yellow line, and October and November in the light blue line of 2022, the gap is smaller, right? So year over year, it's still up because we live in Des Moines, Iowa, and we're very, very blessed that we live in Des Moines, Iowa. And the cyclical markets of the economy don't quite affect us. So you're still going to have a year over year increase in pricing, even though on the month over month it's decreasing. But we're just going back to normal rates, which I mean, it's still above normal at 9%, yet it kind of shows that it'll normalize hopefully in that 4 to 7% range, maybe going into 2023. Yet ultimately for the consumer, what does that mean? Pricing year over year is still going up, right? That's what that means. On the good side, it's not going to go up 14 to 20% like it has been the last 2 years. That's kind of my takeaway for those that are looking to buy. It's going back to normal.
Yeah, and we saw, I mean, if you look at the yellow line from October to November last year, almost the exact same percentage drop off for November. And again, for Des Moines, everything is very seasonal. Um, with the
It was very
holidays,
cold
with the
last week
weather,
too, right?
yeah.
It was very cold.
It was super cold. Nobody's going out looking at houses when it's negative 50 degrees with a wind
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah.
Or at least I hope not. And um, and we saw it pick back up, last spring, and obviously things went absolutely crazy this last spring.
Yeah, and it's very normal also for us, like our team's very good and consistent about, every single morning, even this week, when we're working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, as far as this week goes, is we're picking up the phone and checking in with our client base, and just to be very, very proactive. Yet it's normal after the new year because everybody's like, new year, new me, right? Our phones start to ring like a lot, to start getting ready for what do I need to do to, file my taxes and get ready for the springtime and start buying again. It's again the seasonality of the real estate market here for Des Moines.
All right, so we're going to go back to days on market. So we were seeing it slowly tick up August through September through October, and I think we peaked at, I think it was 12 days on market in October. November we saw it come back down a little bit to 10 days. So that's really
Wow.
just saying that, I mean, there are buyers out there, and the ones who are looking right now are serious. And if your house is priced appropriately, it should move within about 2 weeks. And if you're not seeing that movement, then you obviously need to follow the advice of your agent. But it's likely maybe priced a little too high, or just compared to what is competing against currently on the market.
Yeah, and this is market as a whole, right? So, because it's also dependent on your neighborhood and, the pricing strategy. Obviously, you could tell during April, May, June, July, it was like 2 days or
Rock
whatever,
bottom.
that rock bottom, right?
Mhm.
Like things sold in like a day. And so a little bit more time yet. Des Moines, this just tells you Des Moines housing inventory is still moving in the metro as a whole. Yet we have noticed that we do have to be a lot more careful on what pricing, what the price will be when putting the house on the market. During peak times this year and the last couple years, I mean, when we did our comparative market analysis, what we call a CMA in our world, we were really shooting for the high end average price point when we did our analytical CMA. And we'd get that and then some. Like people, in order to actually play ball, you'd have to offer 10 to 20% over asking, right?
Yes, and
Right. Yes. And right. So now we're kind of back to that normal again. I use that word a lot right now going into this market in this season is, we're kind of in that average, like kind of the pricing, right? When we do our analytics, and it doesn't sell in one day. It still takes a couple weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, just depending on the neighborhood and the pricing strategy that you do go with. So being, choosing someone that actually knows how to navigate through the whole real estate process is extremely important. And you can no longer just hire your cousin's friend's dog's best friend to, list your house and that'll sell. You have to use a real estate professional that knows how to use these numbers and be able to provide you a strategy and information so that you can make an informative decision, right? So,
yeah, any thoughts, Ryan?
Well, yeah, I mean, like now, before, I mean, you're just throwing stuff on the market, and the market was telling you, hey, who's going to give me more money for this house? Now, we really have to do our homework and see what the market is telling us. Once we put something on the market, we really see like, okay, how many showings do we have? How long has it been on the market? And having those discussions with our sellers, and really articulating the value of analyzing that market as we see it come, right?
Yep. And honestly, this statistic, I mean, is useful for sellers and buyers. If you're looking at a house that's been on the market for 30 or 40 days, there's potential strategies on how to approach that if there's been no price adjustments, if we know the median for that neighborhood is 6 in that price point. Obviously something's not lining up there because there's been other houses that have sold and that one hasn't. So it's navigating all these little intricacies. It's what really sets us apart as our team diving into these numbers and knowing all these specific areas of Des Moines and being in tune with all that. But 10 days, I love it. It gives us time to actually look at houses. We're not just dropping everything to go to dropping everything and skipping dinner to go look at 3 houses and have 15 offers in on it. And for sellers, again, as long as you're pricing appropriately, things should still move. Relatively fast. This is still insanely fast compared to what I'm going to say is normal for this time of year. If you look at 2018, 2019, I mean, it was like 20, 30 days. So we're still half to a third of that compared to what it used to be in a normal market pre-COVID.
Yeah, and ultimately anything under 3 months is still a seller's market, right? So technically we're still in a seller's market, meaning the sellers can essentially get the price, when working with a professional, if choosing the right price. Yeah, Anthony's right. If you see something that's been on the market 30 or 40 days, there's two things probably there. Either the pricing is wrong or the condition, right? Because the other houses are selling. So that's when, again, doing a CMA on the buying side is just as important. So a comparative market analysis as doing a CMA on the listing side. So have your real estate professional do that analysis to see what's missing. Is it the pricing? Are they missing the trigger point on the pricing, or is it condition after seeing it like, oh, this is why it's not selling, right? So, because those are the only two things within our control ultimately. Location is locked in, you're not picking up that house and moving it, to the other side of the street, right? So price and condition are the two things that most sellers and owners have a capability of changing.
Yep. All right. So looking at number of houses sold, so we saw a little bit of a slowdown this last month, maybe slightly more than what we seen the previous years. We had 551 units sold in November, and again, slightly less than normal, but not atypical for this time of year to see this type of slowdown. And given that interest rates are kind of been doing what they're doing, seeing it slow down, and given the weather, it's again more normal. Like we're used to seeing a slowdown this right now.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, my biggest takeaway here, if you look at the left-hand side column over there, we're kind of going back to those pre-COVID unit numbers, right? So like we're at 8569 year to date. Is that through November, Anthony?
Through November, and I think through so far in December, what's been recorded is at about another just under 400. So puts us just shy of 9,000 so far in the books for this year.
So just shy of 9,000 in 2019 shows there on the left-hand side of the screen there, 9,200 essentially. So really close to that, and then 2018, 9,300, right? So kind of going back to those pre-COVID unit, back to like normal. There's obviously a lot of things that happened during COVID and post-COVID, supply chain issues, labor issues, that kind of stuff. That also kind of mixes with all of this, and you'll see like later on, a lot of that also affects, new listings and active listings.
So new listings. So this is the number of new listings that have been coming on the market in each month. So again, for November, this is honestly tracking fairly right on, right on to what we've seen in previous years. There is a sharp decline kind of coming through winter. People just don't want to sell their houses and move. Typically, or less people do. I guess it's not nobody does, but less people. So 639, it's kind of right in line with what we normally see this time of year. It tends to bottom out right in December and start picking right back up in January. Again, the new year, new house, taxes are getting filed, people start moving. I know I've got people right now that are like, hey, let's wait for January, let's wait for February, let's wait for March, and then we'll start. And I go, great. There tends to be more houses available in those few months, but there also tends to be more buyers. So again, pros and cons and just weighing your options, and again, meeting with a real estate professional to kind of talk through what those look like, to help you set your goals and meet them is key.
So Anthony, I mean, I think our next like reports in January and February, like we're going to be looking at those numbers really close. So that's really going to tell us what's happening. I feel like once we get through that January, February and that uptick, I feel like that will kind of validate some of these assumptions we have. Because like you said, like we don't exactly know. This is such a complicated market we're in right now with interest rates, with supply stuff, all that stuff is adding in such a limited inventory. It's just a very unique economic equation that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and so we're used to seeing a slowdown this time of year, and we're not seeing it slow down more than normal. We're seeing it slow down normally, and I think everyone here predicts that it's going to tick up normally come beginning of this year and into spring. But that's honestly, yeah, that's going to be the real test, is because we don't have our crystal balls to know the future. But if things continue to fall off, well then we're going to start seeing inventory recover, which would be a good thing as well. But yeah, we're going to see that actual slowdown. But I don't see it, and we'll talk about why in the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with those statements. And again, you kind of see all those points there, right? And essentially in November, December, especially like you hit that lower bracket, which the lower bracket isn't zero, it's 450 to 650, right? Number of listing is the lower bracket, and we hit that quadrant in December, and then immediately in January we hit the next quadrant, which is 650 to 850, right? If you look on the left-hand side every January, so you start seeing that uptick in listings. Because again, new year, new me, right? It's time to list the house and get ready to buy the next house. And so we see that's really normal, and that's kind of what we predict is based on the conversations we're having, and we'll see what truly happens, and we'll see what the numbers say come January.
All right, so active listings. This is kind of where, again, things are a little bit unusual still in Des Moines. We're currently sitting at 1944 active listings on the market. Again, within our criteria, within our bubble, and this is just residential properties. But we were seeing it slowly climb up, and we saw it slowly decline a little bit in November, meaning that there were more buyers than sellers by just a tiny margin. But this is what is keeping housing prices fairly steady here in Des Moines, that there is still limited inventory. As far as buying goes, there's just a little less options up. There's fewer options out there on the listing side. There's less competition potentially. Again, it's going to be neighborhood specific, it's going to be price point specific, but just as a whole rule of thumb, there are less houses for sale now than there's been in the last 5 years in Des Moines, by a decent margin.
Yeah, and this is the most like visual, like appealing, they're not appealing, but appalling, I guess, graph in my eyes. It's crazy, like just seeing that huge gap, right? So hopefully we see more active listings. I'd be interested maybe in one of our maybe in our quarterly review when we look at this, and how many of these active listings are resale versus new construction too, right?
Yeah.
Like it'd be interesting to see that statistic as well. Yet, this is why, again, Des Moines Metro, as they say, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Unless we start seeing more of this, pricing is just going to continue to go up and up and up. And that's probably why we're seeing 9% still, or, the increase of year over year. We just need more inventory for the Metro, right? So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out going into 2023. Yet, knowing that if you buy real estate and you plan on living there for more than 5 years, the trends kind of show you that you'll be okay on the pricing side of things, as it naturally tends to go up here for the Des Moines Metro.
Yeah, I mean, 2022 right now we're looking at for the year, median sale price for the year I think was around 283 is what I looked at. Last year was 260, so we saw a $23,000 jump, which is 9% for that price, that price point, over last year. Now, if we go back 5 years, it was, I believe, under 200,000 for the median sale price for the Metro. And I hope it's not hugely, increased in the next 5 years, but real estate does tend to trend up. And if we continue to see inventory being this low, then yeah, the supply side isn't recovering. Right now, it's just demand that's kind of pushing our pricing a little bit because supply is staying pretty steady and pretty low.
Yeah, so again, good if you're an owner of real estate and you plan on being an owner of real estate, that's good. That adds to your net worth, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, pricing goes down, and as you make your monthly payment, the balance of what you owe goes down, right? Which is not something you can say when you're renting, right? So again, big believer in there's always a way, there's always a path to become a homeowner, and sitting down with a real estate professional on educating you on what that path may look like and the resources you have at your disposal is important to know and start that path early on. Cool.
Right. So again, let us know if you ever have any questions. This is like a 5,000-foot overview of the entire metro. Things are going to be more specific in the neighborhood, in specific price points, specific times a year, and we can I would love to dive into that data, or anybody on our team would love to dive into that data with you guys. So if you do have any questions or just want to discuss this and see what it looks like to get that game plan set for 2023, feel free to reach out. There's our phone number. You'll get connected with one of our wonderful ISA gentlemen, and they'll direct you to one of our wonderful agents.
Yeah, definitely. And make sure if you want to continue to get pinged on when these videos hit, and we put out a lot of other content as well, is find us at on YouTube, Team IRG. So the word team and then the 3 letters IRG, just like you see right there. You'll find us and you'll see that logo right there. Because there is one other Team IRG, and I think it's like a video gaming team or something like that. So don't follow that one unless you want to. Maybe
Yeah,
learn some tips and
people
tricks
might be
on
interested in that too.
yeah, how to game, right? So maybe we'll battle them one of these days. But yeah, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook. We also post a lot of content on Facebook. Same thing. Just go to Facebook and type in Team IRG, and you'll see us. We have tons of great followers, and we thank our community for following us and giving us a big old thumbs up, like button on some of this content that we post out there. If you have any questions whatsoever, like Anthony said, reach out to us. More than happy to dive in and around your neighborhood, in and around where you want to live or where you want to move to, and help you provide you information so that you can ultimately make informative decisions. We consider ourselves real estate advisors to our community. So here we are. Awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.